It's time for another Building a Nation save in FM24, and this time we are heading over to the Caribbean to try and build Jamaica into a world-class footballing nation. It is certainly not going to be easy. And that is because we don't qualify for the Champions League, for the North American Champions League. We have to win, or basically finish, I think, first, second or third in the Caribbean Cup in order to qualify for the North American Champions League. And the Caribbean Cup, whilst should be relatively easy after a few seasons, isn't going to be easy initially because you've got teams from Trinidad and Tobago who are going to be good. You've got other Jamaican sides as well who are going to be good. You've got teams from Haiti who aren't actually going to be as bad as you think they might be. It is going to be probably a bit harder. I feel like the teams from Trinidad and Tobago are going to cause us the biggest problems. And then if you are lucky enough to get through the Caribbean Cup and get into the North American Champions League, we then have to play quite a few very, very good sides. You will basically get, I think, 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 teams from the United States every single season in the North American Champions League. You will also get about 6 teams from Mexico. You'll get a couple of Canadian sides, a few teams from sort of Costa Rica, Honduras, El Salvador, places like that, Guatemala. And we will be one of the worst teams in the competition every single season. You can see here, Cavalier actually drew up against Forge FC from Canada in 2025. They went into the second round. Where are they? They are there. No, that's not them. That is a different side. They played Monterrey of Mexico and got beaten. And then Arnett Gardens played Santos Laguna, also of Mexico, and got beaten. Basically, once you get to about the quarterfinal, it's just Mexican and USA sides every single time around. So it's going to be very, very difficult for us to actually win this thing. But we kind of have to do that if we want to build the nation of Jamaica. And to add extra insult to injury, we can never increase the amount of teams in the North American Champions League. We will always have to go through the Caribbean Cup, regardless of how good Jamaica is as a national side, regardless of how good Jamaica is as a league system. We will always have to go through the Caribbean Cup in order to get there. Oh, and it gets even more ridiculous as well. The Jamaican Premier League, whilst you may think, looking at this, Mount Pleasant FC have won the league, therefore they are champions. That is not true. The top 6 sides qualify for a playoff. And in that playoff, there is a quarter-final. This time around, it was Arnett Gardens beating Veer United and Harbourview beating our team, Montego Bay United, which set up some semi-finals where Mount Pleasant and Waterhouse both go through on penalties, and then a final against Mount Pleasant FC where they beat Waterhouse 3-0 to win the Jamaican Premier League. It means that we can finish in 6th place and be crowned champions of Jamaica. I don't know what that means for the Caribbean Cup qualifications, however. I'm assuming if you win the league, so if you get to the final, you'll be in the Caribbean Cup. If you get to the semi-final, you might also be in the Caribbean Cup. I don't quite know. I feel like we should get 4 teams in the Caribbean Cup. We might not. We might get less. We might get more. I have no idea. So basically, this is kind of going to be a bit of a learning experience for all of us. Anyway, now that long-winded introduction is out of the way, we are taking charge of Montego Bay United, who have played, I think, a season or 2 in the league so far, and they actually finished, as you saw earlier, in 5th place, getting knocked out of the actual kind of finals competitions. But we are taking over Montego Bay United, and we're going to hopefully stay with Montego Bay United for the rest of time. That is the objective. And I can't believe I'm doing this, but we're going to play a 4-4-2. I'm definitely going to do this. I'm not convinced how long I'm going to do this for, okay? But I've realised that I play the same formation in every single save because it does well, but I want to try something different, and we're going to go for something really, really boring. We're going to go for a 4-4-2 wing play and just see how it goes. It might be we get to like season 15 or something like that, and we go, yeah, let's change things up. But for the first few seasons, we're definitely going for a 4-4-2. And the final thing to mention before we jump forward to the end of the first transfer window is we will be able to do transfers from teams within Jamaica. Basically, because of the way the league works, it is going to be very difficult for us to sign players who aren't Jamaican and who aren't coming from other teams in Jamaica. I know that's kind of a key rule for building a nation. If we don't do that, we will always be weaker than everyone else because we just have to wait for them to release players, whereas we need to basically have the option to be able to sign players. So, anyway, let's jump forward to the end of the first transfer window. You can see we've got £10,000 to spend. I don't really know how far that's going to go. It doesn't actually go particularly far at all. We have sold a couple of players. It doesn't really matter who we've sold, but we sold Shamor Smith. He's gone for £1,100. We've brought in a few players as well. Gavin Burton is one of these players. This is kind of the quality of our team, by the way. We brought him in because we needed some right midfielders, because we didn't have any, even though we're trying to play a 4-4-2. So Gavin Burton has joined the club on a free. As has 20-year-old Kimar Behari, maybe could be his name. He's also joined on a free in the centre of the pitch. And costing all of our money, we bought a brand new goalkeeper, but I feel like this is a sensible investment. For £7,250, we've signed Daniel Russell, a 24-year-old Jamaican goalkeeper signed from Mount Pleasant FC. He's played 41 times for them the last few seasons, and I think he's good. 725 seems like a high sum right now, but he's only 24, so if we get maybe 10 years out of this guy, that is absolute peanuts. So obviously being Season 1, there's not really a huge amount we can kind of talk about because you don't really know any of the players, and neither do I. Looking at my assistant manager, which is Roger Rodney, by the way, which is a great name, this is kind of what he thinks are our best players in all positions. So we've seen Daniel Russell, our goalkeeper. We've got Josiah Trimmingham, who is one of our best central defenders. He does have 2 caps for Trinidad and Tobago. I do think he probably is one of our best players. He can also play in defence midfield if we need him to. We've got Courtney Allen as a defence midfielder, or central midfielder, not defensive, sorry. And he looks good. I do like the look of Courtney Allen. Lots of 9s and 10s there. That's good, because if they go up by 1 or 2, he's going to look like a really good footballer. And then up front, this is where we have a lot of strength. We've got Brian Brown, who is 4-star current ability, 32 years of age. He's got 9 caps and 1 goal to his name. 4-star as a striker. We've also got Jordan Fletcher, who is probably our best player. Okay, 9 caps, 2 goals, 27 years old. He's actually gone around a little trip of Europe by the looks of it. Not Europe, India. Okay, he's gone India, he's come back to Jamaica, he's gone to Albania for a little bit, and then he's returned to Montego Bay. But Fletcher is certainly one of our best players. We also have Deonjay Brown, who is a 20-year-old, who's also 3.5-star current ability. I might be hamstringing us by playing literally just 2 strikers. Maybe we need to push like somebody onto a different position. Maybe Deonjay Brown could be a left midfielder. Who knows, or a right midfielder. Maybe that's something we need to consider. Just having a quick look at the squad as well. I've sorted this by nationality because there is something we also need to keep an eye on when it comes to our registration for the actual league system, and that is we can only have 5 non-Jamaican players for us. At the moment, we have Hospedales, might be his name, and Trimmingham, who are both from Trinidad and Tobago. Going forward in a few years' time, I'm obviously going to be starting to look at hopefully getting some sort of Americans, Canadians, Mexicans, things like that coming in to make our squad better. We need to use those 5 non-Jamaican players really sensibly, because I feel like particularly the early few seasons, we're not going to be getting world-class Jamaican footballers. And if we are, they're not going to be good enough to really propel us through the North American Champions League too far. Right, the next thing to do then is to jump forward to the start of the next transfer window. The Jamaican Premier League will have kicked off, as well as the JFF Cup, which is obviously the Jamaican Football Federation Cup. We'll see how far we can get in that and see obviously how well we've started the league. Well, on the 29th of December, we have started the league actually very well. Currently sitting top of the table, just 1 defeat to our name against Humble Lion, a 2-1 defeat, 2 draws there, and then 9 victories, a 6-3 against Waterhouse. Couple of 4-1s in there as well, so looking pretty good. We're also in the JFF Cup quarter-final. I think there's actually probably only like 1 round before, yeah. So the first round we drew 1-1 with Portmore United and then beat them on penalties, setting up a quarter-final match against Mount Pleasant FC. I'm kind of quietly optimistic about winning the JFF Cup, although I feel like it's not that exciting to win. It's probably not something that everyone's like, oh yeah, you really need to win that. It's like worse than the Trinidad and Tobago Charity Shield. So it's not a good cup to win, but you know, let's try and win as many things as we possibly can. So with the season kicking off and starting off quite well, we have a transfer budget of 0, and we are also basically spending most of our wage budget. We've actually got nearly £1,000 of our wage budget to spend, so we might be able to bring in some players who cost absolutely nothing, but are getting paid a lot of money. Maybe that's something we need to consider. So we're going to jump forward then to the end of this transfer window, which I think is kind of maybe, possibly at the end of January, might be early February, and see how well things have gone for the next month. Well, let's get the transfers out of the way first. Nothing happened at all. We don't really have the money. I really have the money. We don't have the money to do anything exciting. I couldn't really find anybody who was worth investing in to try and strengthen our squad. What I am going to try and do for the first few seasons at the very least, I'm going to just try and not go crazy with just signing players for the sake of signing them, because I can. I feel like we need to keep an eye on our finances. We are nearly £500,000 in debt. We've been in debt basically since we took over. We took over someone in 2025. So we've been in debt for the entirety of my time in charge of Montego Bay United. So we need to kind of maybe try and turn that around, get that into the positive, and that could actually help us, because then we could start to do things like investing in our facilities, which we've got exceptional youth recruitment, but everything else is kind of adequate, below average, things like that. So we need to kind of get that up. We also would love to have a much bigger stadium, because 4,000 capacity is good and all, but if we're going to be going into the Caribbean Cup, North American Champions League, we need sort of 20,000 capacity, surely. The other things that have happened, we've been knocked off the top of the table. We've dropped down into second place, and that's because we've drawn a couple more games. We've now drawn actually 3 more games, I believe. Harbourview, Tivoli Gardens, and Arnett Gardens. We have drawn all of those, but we have made it to the semi-final of the JFF Cup. So we've beaten Mount Pleasant 4-1. We have set up a match against Cavalier. Cavalier, by the way, were a team that I was considering being in charge of, and I decided to go for Montego Bay United instead. It means I feel like we could win this. If we get past Cavalier, we can definitely win the JFF Cup in our first season. Well, next thing to do is to jump towards the end of the regular season, but the regular season doesn't really finish, because obviously if we finish in the top 6, we can still technically be crowned champions. So even though we're not top of the table anymore, it doesn't really matter. And this kind of proves my point. It doesn't matter. We've dropped down to 3rd place in the table, but we have qualified for the playoffs. You do want to finish in the top 2, I guess, because then you'll go straight into the semi-final. Otherwise, you have to go through the quarterfinals. But even finishing 3rd is fine, because it just means we have to play 1 more match. Maybe 2. Might be 2 legs. Not quite sure. But we are up against Cavalier in the first one. In the semi-final, it will be probably Arnett Gardens, I'm going to assume, and then Veer United and Mount Pleasant FC if we get past Cavalier, which we didn't manage to do in the JFF Cup. So maybe we're not going to be winning the league in Season 1, but we'll find out in a minute. Something that has happened as well is we have got our first youth intake has come through. We haven't signed anybody just yet, but we are going to be having quite a few players that look like they could be amazing with 5-star potential, but then look like this, who aren't necessarily going to be that great at all. He is a 6'7" Jamaican centre-back though. I feel like we need to sign him just because he's 6'7". Right, let's go forward then to the end of the season. And are we going to be crowned champions of Jamaica at the first time of asking? No, we are not. It is Veer United who have been crowned champions, beating Mount Pleasant FC 5-4 in the final after extra time. We actually managed to get past Cavalier, so we beat them drew 2-2, but beat them on penalties, setting up a match against Mount Pleasant, which we lose 2-1. It's fine. I'm kind of okay with this. We've finished technically in the top 4 at this point, which might mean that we've qualified for the Caribbean Cup for Season 2. So this is the Caribbean Cup for this season, and we've got Waterhouse and Mount Pleasant FC. So it looks like maybe just 2 teams from Jamaica go through. It might be the 2 teams who make it to the final. It might be the 2 teams who finish 1st and 2nd. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. Briefly looking at some players then, so we've got 3 players who scored in double figures. We've got Chad James, who has been playing, I assume, probably on the right wing, 10 goals, 6 assists to his name. He's not very good, but he's getting the goals. We've got DeAndre Brown, who we mentioned at the start of the season, actually started 27 games, so he was one of our main strikers, scoring 11 and getting 8. He's unhappy, which probably means he wants to move to a big... Oh no, he just wants a new contract. That's fine, we can deal with that. And then Jordan Fletcher, who we know has been our best player, has scored 23 goals, getting 7 assists as well. We need to keep hold of Fletcher for as long as we can until his ability starts declining. So Season 1 is in the bag. We finished 3rd place in the table. Have we qualified for the Caribbean Cup? Probably not, but we're going to see what happens in Season 2. So the transfer window is open for Season 2 for our Montego Bay United side. We finished 3rd place last season, as we all know. I don't think we're in the Caribbean Cup. We don't know yet. We haven't actually confirmed anything. We're going to have to go forward a few days before we find out exactly what's going on. Financially, we've got £4,000 to spend, and we've got maybe about £300 of our wage budget if we want to spend that as well. But we are going to jump forward to the end of the first transfer window, see what business we can manage to do, see if we can actually get into the Caribbean Cup. I feel like we're not going to. But yeah, Season 2, hopefully, should be a bit of an interesting one. So the first thing we're going to look at is the competitions, and yes, there is only 2 competitions there, the Jamaican Premier League and the JFF Cup, which means we are not in continental competition for Season 2, but I feel like we should be good enough, okay? Because we were top of the table for quite a lot of last season, we dropped down to 3rd place. Frustratingly now, thinking about it, dropping down to 3rd place means that could have caused us to not be in continental competition. If we finished in 2nd, we might actually have been in the Caribbean Cup. Transfers then that have taken place. We brought in 2 players to the club. Hesron Barry is first up, a 26-year-old Jamaican central defender, formerly of Waterhouse. His contract expired. We picked him up on a free transfer. 3.5-star current ability. I feel like this is kind of what we need to just keep doing, is just buying, basically stealing the players who lose their contracts, who basically don't get their contracts renewed, and make sure that we're getting the ones that kind of actually improve our squad. So Hesron Berry is first up. And next up, utilising one of our non-Jamaican players, is Bashmi Joseph, might be his name, a 24-year-old Haitian international, 13 caps, 3 goals to his name. He has cost absolutely nothing. He's signed on a free transfer after his contract expired. And I brought him in because he's a bit of a utility man, and I'm going to retrain him up to be a left midfielder, okay? We don't have many players who can play on the left or on the right, and I feel like Joseph should be good enough to play there, so that is why we are training him. As you can see, he does have the makeshift kind of colour there, because we are training him, but he's not really done too much at the moment. And that is it when it comes to players joining the club. Leaving the club, we've got a couple of people to mention. Alex Forbes first up, moving to Dunbeholden. That's probably not their name, is it? But he has moved over there for £1,600. And Dunbeholden have also picked up Uriah McMurray, who's cost £850. So they've picked up a couple of our players. No one too exciting. We have also gone absolutely crazy with loaning players out. Oh, Jamar Stevens has left actually on a free transfer as well. Yeah, loads of people have been loaned out. What I've done is I've set up the development list to make sure that they always go out on loan to teams in Jamaica. They're not going to go anywhere other than Jamaica. And we've loaned out a lot of people, as you can see. Now, whilst I might start locking players into starting 11 positions, I'm not necessarily going to do it at the moment. What I think I might need to do actually is lock in Joseph, because I feel like he's not going to play. They might play what's his name? Is it Chad? Chad James. Yeah, they might play Chad James there instead. So we're going to maybe lock in Joseph. I'm not quite sure whether we want to be doing that yet. But basically, we're playing a 4-4-2 wing play still. It kind of worked, okay? It kind of worked. We're sticking with it for Season 2. And let's jump forward then to the next transfer window. You can see we're also well over our wage budget, by the way. So we've kind of screwed ourselves financially, which is not ideal, but these things happen when you're doing a save early on like this. We're going to jump forward then to, I think it's the end of December, and then see how well the season has kicked off. And are we actually doing all right in the JFF Cup as well? Much like last season, things are going quite well. We are currently top of the Jamaican Premier League. 22 positive goal difference, 29 points on the board, just 1 defeat, Portsmouth United. The team to beat us. We've drawn twice, Arnett Gardens and Humble Line, and then 9 victories. Some big ones as well. Waterhouse 5-1, Mount Pleasant FC 6-1. They're down in 13th. They finished second last year, right? They finished second place or maybe even first place in the table. So massive, massive wins there. We're also through to the quarterfinal of the JFF Cup as well, which is obviously good. I do want to win it, okay? I'm saying this now. I want to win the JFF Cup in Season 2. Obviously, being a transfer window, yep, no money. Don't worry. We're not really going to do a huge amount. We might bring in 1 player on a free if we lose some players, because we're over our wage budget by nearly £1,000 a week, actually. So maybe we can't do any transfer business. It might just be selling people. Or, much like Season 1, doing very little at all. We've loaned out 3 more players. So, Shaven Salmon, which is a great name. That can't be how it's pronounced, but his name is Shaven Salmon. Mario Campbell and Orville Duffus have all gone out on loan to various teams. He's actually gone to Humble Line in the Jamaican Premier Division. So we've done no transfer business. We are still hemorrhaging money, but we are now committed to spend less, because I've actually kind of set some players who should be getting released and things like that at the end of their contract. Other things that are going on, JFF Cup, we have made it through to the semi-final up against Waterhouse, and in the Jamaican Premier League, we are still top of the table, but as we know, doesn't really matter, does it? As long as we finish top 2, actually. I say it doesn't matter. Finishing top 2 should get us Caribbean Cup football, and that's what we need to be doing. So, we're clear by 6 points, actually, so that's actually very good. We've lost Veer United, are the only team now that have beaten us extra, that is, and then 12 victories. So, we've done quite well in January. So, the next thing to do is to jump forward to the end of the regular season. Have we finished in the top 2? That's what we need, finishing in the top 2, because that should mean that we're in the Caribbean Cup for Season 3. In the JFF Cup, we do fall at the semi-finals, losing to Waterhouse 2-1. It means the final is between Molines? Molines? Oh, I have no idea how to say that. If anyone knows how to pronounce that, please tell me in the comments. Waterhouse are their opponents, but in the league, we have finished top of the table. Now, still don't know whether that means we will be qualifying for the Caribbean Cup. I feel like it should. I feel like consistency should mean that we qualify for the Caribbean Cup. Even if we get knocked out in the semi-final of the next part, I feel like we should be okay. We're obviously not in the finals at the moment because we go straight through to the semi-final. It's Portmore United, Cavalier, Veer United and Dunbarholden will be the 4 teams battling it out in the quarterfinal, and then obviously it'll be ourselves and Arnett Gardens jumping in the semi-finals. I have a feeling we could win the league this year. We've done well, 56 points. It's a massive, massive gap between us and second place. What's that, 7-point gap? That's massive. That is absolutely huge. So I feel like we could be good. I've also just seen 12th Street have finished bottom of the table with 2 points and a negative 69 goal difference. They drew with Waterhouse and Mount Pleasant as well. Fair enough. Anyway, then let's jump forward to the end of the finals. Have we won our first Jamaican Premier League? And are we going to the Caribbean Cup for Season 3? We haven't won the league. We've got to the final and we've lost against Arnett Gardens 3-1 after extra time. I feel like because we've got to the final and because we finished first in the actual regular season, we are guaranteed Caribbean Cup football. And I think because Arnett Gardens finished second, they're also guaranteed Caribbean Cup football next season. I'm still not sure how it works out with who plays in the Caribbean Cup, but this is what happened in the final. We go 1-0 down. We then equalise thanks to Fletcher in the 80th minute. But then in extra time, Taylor and Morrissey with the 2 goals for Arnett Gardens, meaning that we don't win the league. So we get knocked out in the semi-final of the JFF Cup and losing in the final of the Jamaican Premier League, which is frustrating. Does it mean, financially, it doesn't mean a huge amount at all, does it? That's not good. We might be able to see, we can't see. Okay, I was hoping we could jump to next season. It will say, yeah, here's the Caribbean Cup matches. So this is the Caribbean Cup for the start of next season. So we're not in this one. So that is Veer United and Mount Pleasant. Right, we're going to have to do some sleuthing here. Veer United and Mount Pleasant were in the finals, but they were also top of the table. Okay, this isn't helping anyone, is it? It's not helping anybody, but this is annoying, isn't it? That just kind of looks ridiculous, doesn't it? We won the league, but weren't crowned champions. Just taking a quick look at some of the players. So we did actually lock in Joseph on that left midfield, and he actually is now natural as a left midfielder. He's done all right, 9 goals and 6 assists, so he's actually our 3rd top goal scorer. We've got Brown with our 2nd top goal scorer, 14 and 2 in all competitions, and Fletcher, as we expected, is our top goal scorer with 23 goals in all competitions. He is out of contract in the summer, and I really want him to sign a new one, but we're not quite sure whether he's actually going to want to do it. We might need to pay him a lot of money. You're going to have to stick around for Season 3 to find out whether we actually do that. Another thing that's happened, obviously, we do get our youth intake, which I'm not even sure when it comes through, possibly around April time. We have got a few players that have come through, which might be good. Ryan McGovern is the only one that I'm kind of not, I was going to say excited about. You look at him and he's nothing to be excited about at all, but he's only 15. He's got 5-star potential. If he gets up to a 3-star player, that's probably okay for us at the moment. At 15 as well, plenty of time to grow. One thing that we do need to try and do, and it's not really in our control to do it, but we need to start selling players to Mexico, to the United States and to Canada, because we do have those leagues on. And if we get players going over there, we can stick in nice big sell-ons, like 50% sell-on to a player who goes over to, let's say, Tigres, who then eventually moves over to Real Madrid or something like that in a few years' time. Could mean like £10 million coming our way. If they go to the MLS, it's a little bit weirder because of the whole draft nonsense. If they go to Canada, chances are they're probably not going to go for huge money, but they still might go for a little bit of money. And I think that is our way to try and fix our financial situation, to be honest. So with Season 2 in the bag, we have won the league, but not won a trophy, which is frustrating. But I do think we will be in the Caribbean Cup for Season 3. So over the summer, we're going to have to do a little bit of transfer business, I think, to try and strengthen our squad. And we're going to see how well things go in our first ever expedition into the Caribbean Cup. And hopefully we can qualify for the North American Champions League as well.